Welcome back to another episode of the Red Pill Cartel podcast. Today I have a very special guest. This has been in the works for quite a while. From the Netherlands, my good vampire friend, Joost. How are you, brother?
Thanks for having me. I'm great. Just like every one of us, I'm on a spiritual path at the moment, aren't we
Well,
all?
we are all on that path, I think, whether we like it or not, or whether we know it or not.
Exactly. So as long as I'm moving forward, I am great.
That's
And
what we got to do.
even if I make step backs, it's always like two steps forward, one step back. You always got your downfalls, but as long as the main goal is forward, it's always good. So yeah, I'm great.
Definitely, definitely. Awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you here finally. I had a little bit of a hiatus. I was sick for a while. Then 2 days ago, my mother passed away. God bless her soul. So, uh, we're just going through some old family photos to pick for a slideshow for the funeral. She's getting cremated on Saturday. So, but she had Alzheimer's. She was suffering for like 10 years. So I believe now her conscience is set free. She's out of that shell. She's up with her higher self now. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. My father passed away 1.5 years ago, and he had cancer for like 5 to 6 years.
Mm,
So it was all also a way of he was already on the list to go, and the
right.
doctor only gave him like 3 months or a half a year, but he lived for like 5.5 years, something around that. So I know what you're going through. It's a lot of things, but eventually you go through it. And the most important thing is not to say just bye, but just say a goodbye.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And remember the good things.
That's what I'm doing. Yep. And yeah, it's strange to say, when I'm texting people or calling people saying that my mother passed away. It's like holy shit. It's fucking strange. Anyways, let's get into your life. I guess we'll get started in how you got on your spiritual path. Were you in vampire cults before you were awakened to what was going on in the world, or is that just something you got into without knowing what spirituality was?
Well, the thing is, I got vivid memories since I was age 2. So I can remember everything in detail from age 2 till now. I can remember almost every day, every important moment in my life. And when I was age 2, my mother, she left my father all of a sudden. My father was at work and she just left and went to a cult, the bug one, Osho, if you know it.
Oh, your mother went into the cult.
Yeah, and she took me and
Wow.
my brother with her. So um, she also always was kind of a spiritual person, or at least searching for answers. And she always looked for it in cults and first of all religion, Christianity, like every Western person, I guess.
Hmm.
She didn't find answers there, so she went to cults and stuff like that. So it kind of came to me at an early age, the whole spiritual cult stuff. And
At what age did you kind of start realizing that you were in a cult?
well, I realized it real early because friends of mine, they had a normal home, a dad, a father. Parents didn't divorce back then. I'm 43 years old, so back then it wasn't normal to divorce. So all parents were together. Mine was just left my father, and I was in a strange home in a commune with other people from the cult. And from that moment, I knew something was weird. Something was not normal, if you know what I mean.
Right, right.
When you go to a friend's home and you still see the father and the mother figure and people sitting at the table and eating together and sharing a healthy home together. I didn't have that. Not from age 2 till
Hmm.
age 6. My mother got married again, and then stability came back because my stepfather was kind of a more stable, down to earth kind of man. He was awake, he was spiritual as well, but he was more down to earth spiritual and not high in the mind kind of spiritual, if you know what I mean. You have
Right, right.
the practical people and more of the spiritual hallelujah kind of people, and he was more like the practical kind of guy, if you know what I mean. So
Kind of like a hippie, maybe.
yeah, a hippie in a way, but also a guy who loves to work with his hands, who knows how to fix stuff, who also noticed that me and my 2 year older brother, we were like having two left hands. We couldn't fix anything, and he was these two boys, they need a father figure, and he kind of stepped into being that because in the weekends I was at my father's place, but because he was teacher, he couldn't take care of us in the normal days, only in the weekends.
Okay.
So he couldn't educate us like or raise us like my stepfather could. So my stepfather was more like a real father figure to me than my real father.
Than than your actual father. Yeah, yeah. And was he involved in the cult as well?
Yeah, he's also been in several cults. He also practiced several things like Aikido, Tai Chi, yoga, stuff like that. So that also is a big part of yeah what I learned and what we were doing. You know, the Aikido stuff, the Tai Chi, but also shiatsu massaging, stuff like that.
So a lot of hands-on practical things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
When we went on a vacation, a lot of times we went to a certain event vacation where you learned meditation, learned judo, learned stuff like that. Kind of a spiritual, practical kind of uh, vacation event kind of thing. So yeah, we always went to the special places.
That's cool. And I'm sure you've taken a lot of those things and still practice those.
Yes, yes, of course, of course. But when it comes to my mother, it was always a love-hate relationship. Mostly because of what she did when I was 2, you know?
Okay.
She left my father all of a sudden. He was at work, he got home, we were gone. And only 3 months later, she took back contact with my father to tell us where she went. So
Wow.
that's a really nasty way to treat your husband
Sure.
and the father of your kids. And we didn't see our father for like 3 months. So it was like a really shitty experience, and that's also a thing that kind of led me to the dark side of the cults. The cults I
Okay.
was in myself, not my mother, not my stepfather, but myself. For example, this is a symbol of one of the cults I was in, which I can talk about if you like.
Sure. Absolutely.
It's a vampire cult.
What is that symbol called?
It's an ankh.
It's an
It,
egg. Yeah, it looks like it, but it looks a little bit different.
let me just take it off so I can show it from close by. It's you know the ankh stands for eternal life, right?
Eternal life. Yeah.
And you know what vampires are looking for or think they are.
Eternal life in the flesh.
Exactly. And I'm gonna talk about that as well because some cults do believe in that it is possible. See, this is the ankh. It even has like a sun or an eye or something like that.
It looks like a sword ankh.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell more about this ankh in a minute. I will first tell you how I got into a vampire cult because it's
Yes.
It was in the year 2004 that I first.
Sure, it wasn't 1904.
No, 2004. But I got really engaged into the cult back then. But it kind of started at back at school. We had to do homework and write stuff, and you had to go to a library, right? To read books. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have our mobile phone to look up information. We actually had to go to a library.
Right,
And
and use your brain. Yeah.
inside that library, there were two books. Or, well, it's like one encyclopedia, but it contains of two books. And that's what really got me into the occult. This is a really rare book. It's the Encyclopedia of Occultism and Parapsychology, the fifth edition. And it is written by J. Gordon Melton.
Okay.
And it's a really big book, a research on everything that has to do with parapsychology and occultism. It even has.
This is when I was a kid and I saw the Ghostbusters, it made me want to be a parapsychologist.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a really interesting subject, and
It's something that I've been interested in all my life since I've had my experiences as a child, right?
yeah, it's parapsychology is it's psychology, but it's also about the spiritual, the supernatural, the stuff like that. So it goes deeper than normal psychology.
Right.
And it's even a study because, for example, I have this book, Psychic Vampires, and it's by Joe H. Slade, who has a PhD in psychology and parapsychology. So it's actually a real thing. I'm gonna talk about this in a minute, because I'm gonna explain how I got into vampirism. So I had this book, and this book has a lot of research, the occultism and parapsychology encyclopedia about a lot of cults. It even has addresses, websites mentioned, whatever. So this is like your go-to book when you want to research everything that has to do with the occult. It even takes certain things from religion as well. So it's the best book you can have. It's like 2,000 pages of knowledge and of
I
research.
had a I had a book once called The Kingdom. I think it was called The Kingdom of the Occult, but it was from a Christian perspective, so it was kind of demonizing everything.
Yeah, well, this book is more like factual. It's more about the facts and about um, the addresses of the cult, the leaders of the cult, a little bit background, stuff like that. So with an encyclopedia like that, you can research deeper on into the whole cult thing. So that was
Awesome.
a book I found when I was like I think 14 years old.
Okay.
I always remembered that book, and eventually I got it off Amazon for $30 each. Well, if you look at the book now, it's $300 each because it's
Holy
really
shit.
rare. So I got it extremely cheap, and it contains of two parts, of course, but one bookstore only had one part, second hand, and the other bookstore had the second part. That's why it was cheap, because it wasn't complete. So I instantly bought both, and now I got the full collection. So I'm really happy about that. So that was when I was 14, and well, as a kid and as a young adult, I had a lot of anger in me, especially towards my mother and stuff that happened in my life. And I
Sure,
became,
you can probably call that trauma.
yeah, trauma, exactly.
Yeah.
And I got a lot into the gothic and metal scenes, right?
Hmm.
So I wanted to buy gothic stuff, clothing, jewelry, whatever. And in the store, the Gothic store, I found this book, Psychic Vampires, Protection from Energy Predators and Parasites by Joe H. Slade. And it's a scientific take on vampires. Not blood drinking ones, but ones that actually take your vital energy, your prana,
Psychic energy. Yep.
your pranic, psychic energy, whatever you want to call it. In Tai Chi, they call it Chi. In Aikido, it's called Ki. In the old Vedic arts, it's called prana, but it's all the same. It's your life energy.
Hmm.
And that kind of vampirism is all about taking that energy. Not only psychic vampires in a human body, but also certain spirits that can take your energy. Like
Would you say that narcissists are psychic vampires?
yes, most of them are.
Yeah.
But to be
Because when you're around one and you're kind of arguing with one and trying to kind of talk sense into them, it doesn't work because they constantly find ways to justify their action towards you, and they just completely drain you of your energy constantly.
and it's always about them. It's
Hmm.
never about the people around them. But when it comes to narcissists, my mother was one as well, still is one as well. What I discovered about being narcissistic, I even have slight narcissistic traits as well. Um, the cause of it is always having a black hole inside yourself, having you missed out on something. I think it's love from the early ages stages of life, you know?
Mm. Yeah,
Not
yeah.
having a
I've
healthy
I've
family.
noticed that. I've noticed that. Those
So
traits in people, yeah.
I don't believe people are born a psychopath or narcissistic person. I think we all have the traits to become one, but it's the events in life that can trigger into developing it, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So yeah, back to my story. I got into this book, and the really amazing thing is that this guy had to research it for the, I don't know if you can read it, U.S. Army Missile Research.
Down a little bit.
It's right here.
Oh, okay. I see there. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
So the US Army wanted to know about psychic vampirism to weaponize it. And the fact that US Army wanted to know about this and use this, it says enough, right? They know things. They know things we don't know.
I don't doubt that whatsoever.
So yeah, I got into that book and then I learned about psychic vampires because there are actually three types of vampires that really exist. Not a mythical Hollywood kind of vampire, but the real ones. The first one is a sanguine vampire. And sanguine,
Sanguine, that means blood.
yeah, they are the types of people that get aroused and excited when they see or taste blood.
Okay.
They don't drink a cup of blood, just one drop from a donor. And they take it and they feel a kind of ecstasy, stuff like that, you know. They feel excited, they feel like I'm actually taking someone's blood.
And
And
is that psychosomatic, or is it like an actual thing? Like the compounds within the blood actually kind of gives them a dopamine rush, or is it the psychosomatic effect of I'm drinking somebody's blood, so it's getting me high?
I think it's, to be honest, a mixture of both. For example, not to compare people to dogs, but when you got a dog and that dog tasted blood for the first time after attacking a human being, it wants that taste again and again and again
Just like a cannibal.
for some strange reason. But when you got a dog that never had the taste of blood, only of the food you give them,
Hmm.
they don't want to attack and get
Right.
that blood rush. So I think it's both mentally, psychologically, and physically as well. I think there is something in the blood when you look at adrenochrome, for example,
Hmm.
because when you got a donor and you make a little cut to take a drop of blood, the donor will also release adrenaline, right? Right? So you will get that as well. And when it comes to conspiracy theory, adrenochrome really is a big thing.
It is, yeah, and it's still, I think, debatable if it's actually real or not. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I asked ChatGPT, and it is real. It is a real thing. They can get it from donors, but also synthetically create it because it's kind of like a hormone, just like steroids. You know, they can actually create it in a lab. They don't need to take it
Hmm.
from humans. So I do think,
But they probably prefer to take it from humans because they're all psychopaths anyway, right?
yeah, but it's still conspiracy. We can never really know if it's truly happening. But I do believe stuff like that happens.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, just if you take a look at like the parasites who run the world, you have to be a psychopath to be one of them, right? So it wouldn't surprise me if that shit was real.
exactly. When you look at Bill Gates, for example, he got MS-DOS from a friend of his. He kind of stole it, right? He stole the source code, and thanks to that source code, he became the man he became.
Yep.
Um, he
Same
really,
with Mark Zuckerberg as well, right? Didn't he
yeah.
steal the code for
th-
Facebook?
Those are the kind of people that actually backstab their own friends, their own
Oh
family,
yeah,
own loved ones, just to become rich, just to become famous and whatever. So yeah, yeah, I truly believe there are some really evil people in this world.
for sure.
But coming back to the type of vampire, so you have the blood drinker, but you also have the psychic vampire, and in ancient myths they call them the strigoi. It's from Romania, also where Dracula came from, the real Vlad Dracul.
Hmm.
And strigoi are actually entities that attach to you and drain your energy. And in trade, they give you an addiction, alcohol addiction, or smoking addiction, or sugar addiction, or uh, porn addiction, or whatever addiction you got, right? It always drains something away from you.
Right.
And well, you take your addiction, they take your energy. But there's also the Strigoi V, and that means the living vampires, the actually Strigoi that are born inside a body. And
That like from like generational.
yeah, well, it's more like a soul is born inside a certain family, can be any family, but they always have this kind of need to feed psychic,
Okay.
and like you said, a narcissistic person that always has to feed himself in every conversation and experience you have with them. So yeah, when it comes to that, I found the cult and it was called Strigoi V. And they went on a Europe tour. And they are active in Hollywood. I'm gonna tell about that also really soon. They are really active in Hollywood. So when it comes to conspiracies and cults in Hollywood, it goes really deep. A really quick example is Tom Cruise inside Hollywood with his Scientology. That's also a cult. That's also so yeah. The Bible they had is just a V from vampire. And the fun thing is here you got the symbol,
Ah, yes.
the same as my necklace.
Yep.
And the fun fact is they only got 2,000 of these. I got a copy.
1997.
Yeah, out of 2000 from the Vampire Bible, so to say. And inside that Bible are certain figures that actually played roles in the Matrix movies. Like, for example, this guy.
Who's that?
You know, he looks really menacing, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Um, in the third movie, Matrix Revolution, I think it
Mm-hmm.
was,
Yeah.
there is a club hell scene. That nightclub, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to talk to certain individuals. And in that nightclub, in that scene, you see a certain orgy happening, a certain party, and people having BDSM sex, stuff like that. The thing you see happen is what actually really happens inside this cult. They
Holy
truly have
shit.
parties with orgies and BDSM and people having sex on the dance floor and stuff like that.
So this was like totally pulled from Strigoi V.
Yeah, it's a scene, and the best part is all the figurants that are dancing and having sex together are all part of that cult.
That is
So
insane.
it's actually a real ritual that's happening. And this guy has a really important role in that scene. I'm gonna give you a link afterward so you can look it up.
I I think I've only seen that movie once, and it was in the theater, so it's like a long time ago.
And another thing, I gotta put my finger in front of it because it's a picture of a nude woman. But when it comes to when I said there were only 2,000 necklaces of these, one is carried by this person, as you can see,
Okay.
the high priestess,
The High Priestess.
and she has a really high role within the cult. So yeah, she has the same necklace as I do, one out of 2,000. So yeah, I'm kind of special, I guess.
That's wild, man.
So yeah, there's that. But another fun thing is they have more books like the Vampire Magic book. It's all about rituals and vampire magic.
Sanguinomicon.
And the greatest part is Father Sebastian, who is the leader of the cult. He even signed it for me, as you can see, in
That's so cool. That's
2024.
crazy.
So I got a signed version, and they got more books like the Black Veil about the how do you say that? In Dutch you say it, etiquette, the rules about what kind
Okay.
of
Yep.
clothing you got to wear, how you gotta greet the leaders and stuff like that. This is the whole etiquette part. I don't know how to say it in English, but you know what I
No,
mean.
you got it right. Etiquette. Yep.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, there's that and the vampire magic. And this book is really interesting. It's about astral traveling,
Mm-hmm.
leaving your body. A really interesting thing about that is in vampire myth, a vampire can always change into every shape he wants, right? Into a bat, into a rat, into a bird, into a dragon, whatever. When it comes to the astral world, when we leave our bodies, in the astral world, we can actually become everything we want. You only have to visualize it. You only have to visualize, I'm a dragon right now, or a demon, or a bat, or a rat, or whatever. You can basically create everything there. And this book actually explains that a true vampire can shapeshift, but not in a physical form, if you know what I
Okay.
mean. It's all about the astral world, the world without time, the world without distance. For example, there are certain exercises where you try to touch someone in the astral world who is like miles away from you, and that person has to tell you where he or she feels tingling or energy or warmth or cold or whatever. And the fun fact is, I tried with a couple of people, and they always guessed where I was touching. But we also tried it the other way around, right? So not only me touching, but then eventually teaching them and have the same experience. So the astral world, it has no time, it has no distance, it has no, it's just one place, everything exactly at the same time. If you know what I mean.
I do. Yes, it's like the eternal realm.
Exactly.
Yeah, because eternity knows no bounds of time, right? It's just is.
It is. It just is. Kind of like how to explain the term God or the source or whatever.
Hmm.
It's the biggest and the smallest at the same time. It is, but it isn't at the same time.
Macro and micro, alpha, omega.
Exactly, yin yang, whatever.
Yep.
It's everything at the same time. That is why we can never understand what God really is. Because it's not some old dude with a beard on a cloud, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's 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 anything but that. I can talk about God later.
That's
How I
that's
see.
what the atheists would say. It's an old man in the sky with a beard, or they call it a flying spaghetti monster.
Exactly. So yeah, that's with the Strigoi V cult. I've been at in Amsterdam 2004. It was a party with an orgy and everything, BDSM, you name it. Everything was happening at the same time. And it was amazing. It was really fun in a way, but it also was the dark side. Let's be honest. I also
What turned you off of it? Because you got out of it, obviously, right?
I got out of it. I will come to that in a minute.
Okay.
Um, because yeah, I was at a party. I met Father Sebastian. I also met the people who were actors in the Matrix.
Hmm.
And you know how some people think Keanu Reeves is a vampire, right? Because he always looks young and stuff like that.
Sure. Same with
Well,
Tom Cruise.
when you take the link of that cult and the picture I just showed you and that scene in the Matrix, then you know that Keanu Reeves actually had contact with a cult like that at a certain
Okay.
period in his life, you know? We can't say if he's a member, but we can say that he got in touch with them because
You probably learned a few things from them.
they were a big part of the movie, of the third movie. So yeah. So yeah, anyways, at the party I met a couple of Hollywood people, a couple of bankers, insurance people, really some of the elites as well, or at least people at a higher level of society,
Mhm.
but also people in the lower levels who always are the foot soldiers in the cult, the ones
Okay.
who pull in new members and stuff like that. That's always how a cult works. But the thing was, Father Sebastian asked me personally to, because they were doing the Europe tour, to have me start the cult in the Netherlands, to pull in people and actually be the leader of the Netherlands or Western Europe or whatever. So yeah, I was kind of intrigued, you know, first time meeting this guy, and I have a chance to become a leader and stuff like that. So I was really intrigued. It was, of course, after a longer conversation with him about a lot of subjects about vampirism and spirituality and whatnot. But he kind of saw a leader in me and he wanted me to lead.
Okay.
But then came a thing that I really, really, really hate, and that's politics. Because I found out it's like the Game of Thrones. Everybody wants to sit on that throne. And I was the person that was asked to sit there, but when I was gathering people and have meetings together with Dutch people and whatever, everybody wanted that throne.
Okay.
I actually didn't want to have it. I was
And
just,
you didn't, yeah, you didn't want it. You were just taken, you were appointed. Yeah.
I was intrigued, and I was like, yeah, it sounds like fun to start the Dutch group here and work together with individuals, but the thing in the cult was that working together isn't the thing. It's always backstabbing and politics and stuff like that. So that really got me off. And eventually I just left them. I was like, if I want to be a vampire, I was like that before I was in the cult. So I can be like that leaving the cult, right? I don't need them.
Right.
I don't need the political bullshit and whatever.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was the most important reason for me. The whole politics and bullshitters and people who want to be leaders. I love to see people as equals, no matter what um, what part in society you have as a job. If
Right.
if you're a president or a homeless person, I see you as equal. We are all humans. We all have the same qualities. We have all the same God qualities. Like in the Vedic scriptures, they say the three powers of God is creation, sustaining, that what exists, and destruction. And we all can create, sustain, and destroy, right?
Sure.
So in a way, we are all gods. Even the homeless guy, even the small kid or the 80 years old adult. We are all the same eventually in deep inside. We are all our own gods, and when it comes to cults and politics, it's always about hierarchy. I'm more important than you are because, and then I'm like, well, I don't want to play that game. I don't want to play the Game of Thrones.
It's like any job you have too, like any corporate entity that you work for, the hierarchy is essentially a cult.
True, true, but I also worked at places where the CEO and the managers below them had the way of thinking that everybody is equal. So the CEO told me
That's
if he
rare.
if he does something I don't like, tell it to me directly.
Sure.
But on the other hand, if you do something I don't like, I will tell it to you also directly. He also said if you got problems with certain managers or whatever, or a coworker or whatever, always come to me. The office is always open.
Yeah.
And I think that's what being a real manager or CEO is all about. It's about balance, about hearing everybody's thoughts to make the company healthier and better, and not about hierarchy.
That is a rare thing though, Joost, because most of the companies I've worked for that have that quote unquote open door policy, if you were to, you're just a regular employee and you go to your manager with that open door policy, they're going to view you with your complaint as somebody that needs to be targeted.
Yeah, yeah, I've been there as well. The open door policy that actually does it to stab you in the back. But
Yes, yes.
this place was a real open place. So yeah, it was rare, but amazing at the same time. And in my opinion, a true manager, he gets paid to manage, not
Yeah,
paid to rule.
right.
They have like the bird vision over the whole company. They know what has to be done, and they just every task that has to be done, they kind of give it to the right people who
Hmm.
know how to get it done, right?
Right.
And a manager
Without backstabbing and
without
targeting
backstabbing,
and
and a manager has to trust the workers below him and see
right.
them as equals. Because without the workers, a company is nothing.
Yeah,
A company can have 1,000 managers, but if they only have 3 workers and those 3 workers leave, the 1,000 managers are useless.
yep.
They are total trash. So yeah, to me, a real manager manage. They don't rule, they don't play the boss, they manage. Just like we manage our own lives, right? but they manage
Exactly.
the company. They don't manage the people, they manage the company. And that is what makes a true leader. But
And and so you stepped down. Was there any kind of backlash from leaving the cult?
none at all, none.
Well, that's
Uh,
good.
I just left, and well, the thing about this cult, because I
Because
gonna
Scientology will come after you and your family, you know?
yeah, but this cult is more open and more friendly in a way. I also joined another vampire cult, and they aren't so forgiving. If you leave, you can never ever come back.
Okay.
And that's where this book is from. You see the symbol? It's a skull with wings.
Yeah. It
And,
looks like a combination of Egyptian symbology and Nazi symbology.
and it's the Vampire Bible. And the guy who created this cult has links to Aleister Crowley, you know, the great occultist.
Yep.
When you look at every cult we got today, Scientology is created by a member of Aleister Crowley's cult. Anton LaVey had links to Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley is like the father figure of all the cults we have today,
Yeah.
basically.
L. Ron Hubbard, links to Aleister Crowley, everything.
And this cult, and I'm gonna give you links to their website, to their forums. These guys were all about immortality, but not immortality of the soul, but immortality of the body. And they had scientific stuff on their forums about immortality. And the biggest thing, you know the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, right?
Absolutely.
And do you know his book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution,
Yep.
about transhumanism, about putting a chip in our brain so we can live forever,
Yep.
stuff like that, and adjusting our DNA, because it's not only the connecting us to AI, but it's also changing our DNA so we live longer.
Right.
This cult, back in 2000, were already talking about transhumanism, the same way Klaus Schwab is.
That is insane.
So basically, this cult, Klaus Schwab, all the elites, they are in a certain way connected because they all use the same word, transhumanism. They all use the same IDs. They all use the same. So this cult was a really dark one. The other cult I showed, the 303, it's dark, but and it's connected to Hollywood, but not as dark as this one.
Right.
And there's an even darker cult, and they written this book. It's the Grimoire of Tiamat.
Tiamat. Okay.
And you can see the last name, Mason,
Asenath Mason.
Freemason maybe. Anyways,
Perhaps.
in this book they actually describe rituals where you need human blood.
Okay.
How to cut open. This one goes really dark.
Were you in that cult too, or did you
No,
just
no, no,
study it?
no. I just bought the book because I was really, I really wanted to know about Tiamat because it's really ancient, the whole Tiamat thing. It's dragon goddess, the primal dragon goddess.
Right.
The fun thing about dragons, the other two cults also talk about the dragon. In vampirism, the dragon is a really important symbolic thing. They
Were
worship it during rituals. Some worship Tiamat, others worship other dragons, but it's always about the dragons.
Were you aware of the theory that Yahweh, the God of the Christian Bible, the Christian God, is actually a dragon?
I heard about theories. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was looking into that a little while ago, and it was mind blowing because there's a lot of scripture that describe Yahweh as a dragon, like his nostrils and all this stuff, and it's like holy shit, could be, you never know.
Another reason, by the way, why I bought this book about Tiamat. You see this eye, right? The iris.
Yep.
The thing was, I was doing a plant medicine trip, right? And I wanted to really go deep into my own dark side, into my own trauma and pain and anger and stuff like that. When I was really deep inside my trip, I saw pure darkness, just a void that was just pulling you in, pulling you down, and it was pure dark. But when I got at the very bottom of the darkness, the only thing I saw was this iris.
Wow.
Pure black, and it was looking at me, it was observing me, and I was having a conversation with it about my dark side, and I asked it, what is the dark side? Who are you? Who am I in this, that I and everything?
And how are we connected?
And it told me that if it was Tiamat or not, I don't know, but it was something I visualized automatically, not personally visualizing, but it was something that just came to me, that I in the darkness. And it told me we are observers. We observe. We observe the emotions of people, especially the negative ones, like trauma and pain and stuff like that. And we will absorb that energy. All the trauma and pain from other people, we will absorb it. Because when it comes to emotion, I believe there are only two emotions. All the others are just based on the two emotions. There's light and there's dark. The light is love, but not just loving someone, but love in the full meaning of it. Loving yourself, for example, self-love. And when you love yourself and love other people, it brings happiness and it brings joy and it brings all the good emotions, right? But it always comes out of one thing, love. And then there's the other emotion that Yoda in Star Wars talks about, fear. Yoda in Star Wars, he says something like, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. You know? When you are afraid, you become angry. And eventually the suffering will come. You become sad and whatever.
Miserable, a negative person to be around that nobody wants to be around.
And during that trip, this eye feeds on the fear of us. And I was asking that eye about what's happening in the world right now, with the World Economic Forum and all the crazy shit that's happening. And it said it has to happen. No matter what, it has to happen and it will happen. There will come a really big war. There already is a huge war, right?
Right. And some of us already recognize it.
Exactly. And I said, can we stop it? The war. And of course, because it's the fear and the darkness talking to me, it said we can't stop it. But there's only one good side. After that war, after that big event, same as after World War II, there will come a golden age again. After World War II till the late 90s, early 2000, the world was great, right?
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of people, a lot of happy moments. When I think back at the 80s and the early 90s, it was all about happiness, about real social contact with people, about we didn't have social media, so everything was coming together, right? And you had real friendships and not some online bullshit friendship. Everything
Absolutely, yeah.
So what
just looking, just looking through my photos today. This was all these photos were from pre-internet, and it was like there's so much joy and happiness, man. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And now everybody seems to be locked into this black screen, and everybody, we as much as social media and the internet was supposed to bring us together, it really divided us more.
Exactly.
That's an old cliche already, but it's true.
It is, it is. But coming back to my trip, I also think that deep dark eye, when I think about what is God, it's creation, sustaining, destruction, but it's also light and dark. Both forces are from the same source, right?
Right.
Because without light there's no dark, without dark there's no light. So I think that darkness that I saw is also a part of the higher consciousness of God, or whatever you want to call it. Some people want to call it God, some people want to call it Christ consciousness, Krishna consciousness, the Buddha inside, whatever you want to call it. It's the same.
I say creator or source.
Exactly. It doesn't matter what you call it. Even better, when it comes to religion, you have Buddhism, right? Real Buddhism doesn't even have gods in it. It's just about a spiritual pathway without God, without worshipping gods. You have three ways when it comes to God. You have the atheist, and the atheist is about God doesn't exist, like that. Then you have the theist who says God does exist, but both parties can never prove their point. Nobody can prove me God exists, and nobody can prove me that God doesn't exist. Because you can't hold it, you can't physically show it. Here's God, you know? Buddhism is about non-theism. And non-theism means we don't deal in that bullshit. We don't say God exists. We don't say he doesn't exist. We leave it as an open question, because eventually we will find out when we go back to our source.
Right.
And then we know if it is there or isn't there. But what does exist in Buddhism is your higher consciousness. And it's your inner connection to something higher, to something deeper, to something more spiritual, that doesn't have anything to do with religion. And that's the most important part about spirituality. You don't need religion, because to me, religion is all about control. It's the same, like I said, in the workspace and the cults. It's all about hierarchy and control and stuff like that.
Yep.
The spirituality is like your own connection to your own God or source or higher. That's really important thing. That's freedom. Nobody can control you in your own spiritual path.
That's right. Which is what the Christ was talking about. The truth will set you free.
Yeah.
And I always was saying, how can you be free when you're in a religion? You know?
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. So yeah, when it comes to my spiritual pathway, because I also went into the dark side, but I also went into the light side pathways, right? A really important book for me is the Bhagavad Gita. It's basically the core of all the Vedic scriptures, the ancient scriptures of India, the old Sanskrit language.
Yep.
And the most beautiful part about the Bhagavad Gita is that it isn't corrupted like the Bible, because the Bible was from Latin, or even Roman, Latin, and then translated into English and all the other languages, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But it was always, in every translation, modified.
Right.
By the elitists. But the Bhagavad Gita was from, first it was from mouth to mouth, and it was chanted. Every verse was a song. So people were singing the verses from Brahman to Brahman to Brahman to Brahman, teacher to teacher to teacher, in Sanskrit. Then they written it down, the Sanskrit. But the people that control every religion, the Zionists, because I believe they control every religion, even Hinduism, they couldn't speak Sanskrit, so they couldn't modify it.
Okay.
The translation into English is only happening for like the last, I think, 500 years or something. Before that, it was all in Sanskrit and Pali and languages like that. So the Zionists, they couldn't infiltrate because they didn't speak the language. So that's why this book is as pure as it was 5,000 years ago.
You would think they would have had some kind of way to infiltrate it.
Well, they did. For example, they created Hinduism where people have to worship certain gods.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
You know, like Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Ganesha, the elephant, Hanuman, the monkey god. But when it comes to the core of the Vedic scriptures, because the Vedas, they aren't a religion. They are just a manual. For example, you have Vedic math. It's all about math, about formulas that even today are more advanced than the math we got at universities. Extremely advanced ways of math. You got the Ayurveda, the healthy, the books about health, about diet, about doing yoga, doing whatever to stay healthy.
A lot of alternative medicine.
Alternative medicine, indeed. And you got the Bhagavad Gita, which is basically a spiritual guide to your higher self. And the most important verse in it, I don't know if it will get sharp. Abandon all activities of religion.
All varieties. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear.
So this book basically says, and the Hinduism uses this book. This book basically says, fuck off Hinduism.
Yeah,
Fuck off Christianity.
because abandon all varieties of religion.
All varieties. So this book basically, this book also tells you that God or Krishna or whatever you want to call it is inside us all. So basically, it tells you if you want answers, don't look in a book, but go deep inside your heart.
Right.
One of the most important things in this book is go from your mind, because we all live in our minds, right? With work and relationships and whatever. Go to your heart, because that's the temple, the home of God. We are gods. And it's inside our heart, not inside our mind. Our mind, when you had the podcast with Ben.
Yep.
That about the 30,000 thoughts, that 90% is negative or something like that.
Absolutely. We're constantly being attacked.
That's not God talking to you inside your mind. Inside your mind, it's not God. Well, it is God because everything is God, even the dark entities, but it's not your inner God. It's external stuff that's talking inside your brain and giving you thoughts and trauma and whatever. So, yeah.
Those are the things we have to, Christ says, actually, I don't even know if it was Jesus that said it or if it was Paul that said, take every thought captive into the mind of Christ. So, like, all of the negativity that's coming to you, you have to cast it, you have to recognize it and cast it out.
Exactly. Because it's your home, your temple.
Yeah.
You decide which thoughts you're going to keep, which trauma. And the Bhagavad Gita is also about enlightenment. And I also got my own version of enlightenment. In the Bible, it's becoming a holy person and flying into heaven. That's not the way I see it. The way I see it is more like Buddhism sees it. Basically, every experience in life gives certain life lessons, right? But especially traumatic experiences in life give life lessons. When everything is going fine and dandy, you don't learn anything.
Right.
But when I look at my own life with my mother being a narcissist, with myself also having narcissistic behaviors inside myself, which I still gotta battle because I still got them somehow. I gotta fight those because of
I
trauma.
don't think it ever leaves. It's just if you decide to ruminate on it or not, right?
Well, it's about making choices. Am
Hmm.
I going to choose only for myself, or gonna choose for the people around me and
Right.
actually give them what they ask for? Especially in relationships and friendships, because for narcissists, it's really hard to get a real friendship, a real relationship, because it's not out of the heart, it's always out of the mind.
Right.
So it's again, go back to your heart. That's where you gotta go. That's the best place to live. And when it comes to enlightenment, it's learning your lessons out of the darkness, out of the traumatic experiences, stuff like that. But I think in Buddhism, they talk about the middle way, right? Don't go too far left, don't go too far right, and take a middle path, because that's always going forward. And left and right always keeps you at the same level of not going anywhere.
That throws you out of balance.
Exactly. So when I think about enlightenment, I also think it's about finding out what your dark side is, commune with it, meditate on it, but also your light side. Bring them together and find out what both want. So find a way. It's like having two children, but they are totally different. Find a way to make both children happy.
Hmm.
I think that's enlightenment, because once you got that pathway, you don't have duality anymore. You
So
don't.
let's say if you have murderous tendencies, you don't want to go out and murder somebody. What do you do then?
You can always express it in video games, right?
Sure.
That's what I do. And my light side is also happy about the endorphins and whatever hormones get.
Watching horror movies,
Yeah,
but not
exactly.
acting out on any kind of, you know, things that are going to hurt anybody.
Listening to metal music when you are in a really bad mood.
I
To get.
listen to metal music when I'm happy too.
Yeah, I know, but well, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There are more ways than killing people to feed your dark side,
Right, right.
to make it happy. So you can always find the middle way in what do I want to do, and I think video games and movies and whatever are a distraction created by the elites.
Hmm.
But I also think it can be a way to express yourself and to. Um, it's always art, and um, no matter what kind of art, if it's the light side or the dark side art, I always love it for being art itself.
Sure.
The appreciate it, no matter how dark or light it is, as long as it's something creative and amazing to see. Well,
Even shitty B movies I enjoy because I know that it was a creative process that's bringing this to the viewer, right? Like there's so many movies that I've seen that I love, and people are like, how did you like that movie? It was shit. And I'm like, you try to make a better one.
a recent movie is a Terrifier 3 with Art the Clown. You know that
Right.
one? But Damien Lemon, he's on socials, on Instagram and stuff like that.
Yep.
But when you send him a message, he instantly responds to his fans.
Mm.
So he's a really nice guy, but the movies he makes are really, really dark, It's about,
Oh yeah.
about but
How was three, by the way?
I haven't watched it yet. It's in
Mm.
the 31st. This
Oh, okay. I thought it was out.
Yeah, it's out in
I liked one better than two.
yeah, 2 was a bit
A little too over the top.
yeah, exactly. But it was fun anyways. But
Yeah, it
one
was fun.
really grimmy, dark.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. But yeah, like I said, it's a dark side thing, but it's also a comedy in a way, that movie. So
Right, right.
It brings laughter. It brings every type of emotion inside you, and yeah, I truly love that guy. The movies he make it.
That's like Cobra Kai for me. It brought out every emotion in me.
Well, Cobra Kai is for people at our age. It's like childhood coming back.
For sure.
And there's no hidden agendas in it. There's no LGBTQ plus stuff.
Right, right.
There's no Trump bullshit. There's no Harris bullshit. There's just pure entertainment.
Yep.
And that's why I truly love that show. Not, I didn't see one agenda in it. Not one.
I'm just like a kid when I'm watching that show. I'm like bouncing up and down in my seat. I'm hooting and hollering like, yeah, just so awesome.
But don't you just love it when they make a movie or a series without an agenda, without hidden?
It's the best.
It's the best, right?
Even the Super Mario movie didn't have any kind of shit like that.
No, that movie was also great. And for example, as you can see, I'm a really big fan of Star Wars.
Yep.
I have the official Darth Vader helmet and lightsaber. But when I look at the last three movies with all the hidden agendas about men are weak and women are strong, well, fuck that shit. I hated all those movies. Even
Yeah.
Mark Hamill said that wasn't Luke Skywalker. That was like Chuck Skywalker or something.
Yeah.
It was a bullshit movie. Even Mark Hamill said it.
Yeah. It's crazy.
When he says a movie is shit, it's shit. Because you know him in Batman, right? Doing the Joker voice as a voice
Yeah.
actor. He likes to make entertainment and fun. And he says those Star Wars movies, they weren't entertainment.
Yeah. There was an agenda behind it.
It was, yeah, it was agenda. It was bullshit. It had nothing to do with.
Star Wars Episode 7, The Agenda Awakens.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, coming back at my life, I've been at many places. I also been at the Hare Krishna. That's where I learned about Bhagavad Gita. And
My favorite zombie in the original Dawn of the Dead
the
was
Hare
a Hare
Krishna one.
the Hare Krishna zombie.
Yeah, that's a fun one, isn't it? And Grand Theft Auto 1, there was also Hare Krishna's walking, and
Oh
they
yeah.
could drive over them. But yeah, that's to me Hare Krishna. They also say we aren't a cult and we aren't a religion. We are just spreading the Vedas, the books. You know, they are
Right.
still working on translations of many of the books that aren't translated yet. In Christianity, a lot of scripture is hidden inside the Vatican. You know, the Pope has a lot of scriptures that tells us not to worship the church and stuff like that, so they keep it hidden. When it comes to Hare Krishna, they translate everything, give everything to us. And even when you open the Bhagavad Gita, you have in the first you have the actual Sanskrit.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Sanskrit, how you say it in English, you know,
Yep.
and then word by word translation. And then they put it into a verse. So basically,
Gotcha.
they even teach you how to learn Sanskrit. So if you truly study this book, you can read every Sanskrit scripture or whatever. So
That's awesome.
to me, Hare Krishna is more like a school about spirituality than that it is a cult. Because they don't have rules. Well, they have one rule. Two, you can't eat meat inside the temples because you're vegetarian, but that's inside the temple. But if you are a devoted Hare Krishna, but at home you want to eat meat, you can.
Okay.
But they advise you not to, and they advise you not to smoke. They advise you not to use drugs,
Right.
but they will never, ever, ever force you. And when it comes to the Brahmans, the teachers.
I'm a Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you can be a Hare Krishna like that as well.
Hare Krishna, the heroin addict.
There were a couple of junkies inside the temple that went there to the lectures where they read the Vedic scriptures and chant together and stuff like that. Everybody was welcome.
That's wild.
As a matter of fact, George Harrison from the Beatles, he's
Yep.
devoted Krishna, Hare Krishna. He even bought a castle for them to have a really big temple. The owner of Ford vehicles, or Ford motor vehicles, is also Hare Krishna. He
Oh
also
wow.
gives a lot of his money to the temples so that the temples can give free teachings to everybody who wants to receive it.
That's awesome.
Another awesome thing they do is food for life, and it's they prepare food and share it for free with the world for
Hmm.
everybody who's hungry. You know, they just they give. They don't take, but they give.
Yeah, yeah, that's great.
And when you go to an event there where you got the lecture, the Vedic teachings and the chanting, and you get a dinner after, right? Some food and music and whatever. After that, they ask for a donation. But if you don't want to give a donation, it's okay. But they just ask for it. But if you
Right.
give $1 or you give $1,000, um, they will treat everybody equal because they say it's not about the amount of money you give, it's about the will to give. And there are
Right.
also verses in the Bhagavad Gita that say that also. When you do a sacrifice to God, to your higher self, it's not about what you give, it's about why you give.
Hmm.
And in that way, you can give everything. For example, I could even give up this as a sacrifice. I could say, I'm gonna finally throw away my past with the vampirism and I'm gonna throw it away as a sacrifice to my higher self,
Right.
for example. Or, and this is also a really cool thing, this silver ring. It's a ring the elitists used during a hunt. It's basically made to, if you shoot down an animal and you want to kill it, you cut down the throat with it. So it's basically a weapon.
That's wild.
And they even use it in the interview with the vampire to drain blood.
Ah, yes, yes.
I think Lestat has a ring like this as well. And this is real silver. I truly, truly love this ring.
If
Back in.
anybody's listening to this episode on audio, you can check this out on YouTube and see everything that Joost is presenting.
And another thing vampirism is talking about, but also the Bhagavad Gita and all other spiritual stuff, is about energizing stuff, putting a um, certain energy in it. For example, this thing has a lot of vampiric dark energy in it. Some people feel it. I was at the store where they sell gemstones, and the woman behind the counter was instantly like, "What is it?" Uh,
Well, it
that
is very catching to the eye.
Yeah, she was like, "Whoa, what is that?" She felt a certain energy, and I explained it. I said, "It's from the darkness," and she said, "Yeah, I felt that, but what does it mean?" I said, "Well, it's an Ankh, eternal life, but the dark side version. It's the vampiric version. I also have a smaller version as well, by the way,
Okay, yeah, there you go.
but it's a different shape. This is kind of like the shape that Father Sebastian himself is wearing." I also gotta send you some links about Father Sebastian because he is on Internet Movie Database
Oh,
because
okay.
he works on different types of movies. So he has a cult. He has parties where there is you know the movie Eyes Wide Shut with all the racial,
Yes,
crazy sexual stuff that's happening
of course.
in his cult as well. Stuff like that, the Eyes Wide Shut stuff. But he has a cult. He has the parties. He has the rituals, you know, where you gather energy and put it towards a certain goal. They also use ritual to energize this with vampiric energy. And he's also active in Hollywood as an advisor about vampirism and stuff like that.
That's wild.
So he's really, really deep into Hollywood, that guy. Like I said, in the Matrix movie, some of his members are, and yeah, a lot of other movies. When you ask ChatGPT, for example, Father Sebastian, what movies is he in? And he even has a picture with actors from Game of Thrones. The
Crazy. How old is he?
Father Sebastian, I think he should be over 50 right now.
Oh, okay. So he's relatively young.
He's relatively young, but he comes from an elitist family, a family of dentists.
Oh, okay.
And in Europe, a dentist has, well, they earn a lot of money, but it's still kind of a normal salary. But I know in America, a dentist family can be millionaires, right?
Right.
Because they can ask whatever they want for treating your teeth.
Right. Right.
So yeah, he comes from a big family of dentists. So he was already kind of an elitist type of person. So yeah, interesting person to
Interesting.
look into.
Very interesting. Let's get into what you've been writing, Joost.
Yeah. I've been writing a book. Mind if I share the screen so we
Yeah,
can
go ahead.
go through it?
Let's see here.
Because yeah,
You should be able to.
I've been writing a book about all my experiences, spiritual, cults, even IT, because I did some studies in IT. And I am putting that all inside a book. All my knowledge, because my brain, like I said, I remember everything from age 2, right? Till now. And I kind of want to put my brain into a book. So
Right.
everybody knows what I know. So
It's a
yeah.
lot of content from what you've shown me so far.
Yeah. Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Beating the system, a practical and spiritual guide to a better world. And as you can see in the picture, it's a guy who is halfway into nature, into jungle, and the other half is into an industrial kind of world, you know, about
Yep.
pollution, industrial, and he's sitting right in the middle. And that's what the book will be about making a choice. Will you choose industrial stuff and the fourth revolution and transhumanism? Or will you choose the jungle and nature and spirituality? Which choice are you gonna make in life? Uh, you know? So that's one thing about the book. And this is a rough translation because I've written it in Dutch, so this is AI translated, but so far I think it's pretty good. And the first thing is a theory I got about the social pyramid. At the top are the elite persons, the big companies, BlackRock, Vanguard, the World Economic Forum, you name it. And at the bottom are we, the 99%, you know, the workers, the normal people. And the strange thing about society we live in is that the 1% is fully controlling the 99%. And not because they force us to, but because we are willing to.
Absolutely. Yep.
We accept them to force their rules upon us. We accept to pay taxes and stuff like that. The screen sharing stopped, I think.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead again.
Yes. So yeah, social pyramid theory I got is that we have this pyramid with the elitist, the World Economic Forum, whatever, all this shit. And my theory is you can never climb the pyramid to be on top, right? To see how
Right.
it works. For example, I have been in cults, connected to Hollywood. I even been in politics in the Netherlands. I had a political career for like 2 years, whatever. But you always have to obey to the one above you and above you and above you and above you, the hierarchy. So you can learn, when you climb the pyramid, you can learn certain parts, but you can never become the pyramid or
Right.
see the pyramid. So my theory is that by stepping outside of the pyramid and reading into stuff, reading the books I showed and other stuff I'm gonna tell in this book, you can have a bird view over the pyramid. Not only will you be at the top of the pyramid, where the 1% are, you will even be above it because you are you don't live inside the pyramid anymore. You don't deal with the system anymore. Of course, you will have to deal with certain parts of the system. You know, you still have to pay taxes, or you still have
Or
to
do you?
go to a doctor when you break your arm or something.
Yeah.
But you can choose to do a lot of stuff outside the system, grow your own food, stuff like that. Don't choose religion, but choose your own spiritual path. Follow the Bhagavad Gita or whatever book you want to follow. So, when you are flying above the pyramid, you have a higher consciousness than everyone inside the pyramid. Even
Right.
a higher consciousness than the ones on top. So that's my pyramid theory. That's one
I
part
love
of
it.
the book. The second one is the next step, and that's the theory from bottom up. Think about clean air, clean water, clean food, how to prepare food, supplements like vitamins and whatever, sports, exercise, mental health, spiritual health, mindfulness, self-care, domestic care. What kind of stuff do I use to clean my home? Do I use chemicals or do I use nature stuff to clean my home? Real social contacts instead of social media contacts. Building financial health for yourself. By this way, you build your own pyramid, but just a pyramid for yourself, and it's the bottom up. You start with nothing and you end with everything.
I
And
love
then
it.
the first pyramid doesn't have control over you anymore because you grow your own food. You filter your own water. You don't get the
And
water.
and a lot of these things the system loves to outlaw.
Well, the system will hate you for approaching this,
Right.
but I don't give a fuck because I'm free, right?
Exactly.
Then there's the third chapter. It's about the digital world because I studied IT, security, Microsoft, whatever, and I learned a lot of big tech is all about controlling you and following you every step you take. You know, they are like Big Brother is watching you. So I talk about the big companies, Microsoft, Google, Apple, Meta, whatever. I talk about the dangers of social media, the danger of your mobile phone, wiretapping that they use, like the Edward Snowden, the NSA leaks. The future of the digital world and AI and the way I see it, because I think AI is there to stay. But are we going to use it as transhumans? Or are we going to use it in cooperation? Stay pure as a human, but use AI beside us to make bigger leaps into a better future. I think the transhumanism is the wrong way. But I think AI, on the other hand, I also use it, is a great tool. Well, then there is a big part about transhumanism and how I think about it. And alternative options, options that don't spy on you, like Linux and open source software. So that's chapter 3. Chapter 4 is all my knowledge about cults, from Alistair Crowley to Anton LaVey. And did you know that Anton LaVey also had Hollywood connections?
Oh, I'm pretty sure he has. Yeah, for sure.
Do you know the 70s movies Rosemary's Baby?
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Rosemary gets raped by the devil, right? In that movie. There's a
Yep.
rape scene.
To bring about Satan's son.
Yeah. And do you know who plays the role of the devil? Raping her?
That was Anton LaVey, was it not?
Anton fucking LaVey is playing that role.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, then there's about vampirism. I mentioned about books, everything I just showed you. I mentioned Scientology, cults within politics, because a lot of cults like Scientology have deep bonds with politics. In the vampirism cults, and I even been in the Church of Satan from Anton LaVey, there are also a lot of politicians part of those cults. Cults within corporate world, within entertainment, the Hollywood connections, pedophiles in high social positions. Think about Epstein, Diddy, uh,
Sure.
Nickelodeon, also a
Yep.
really big thing about pedophiles. Um,
Jimmy Savile.
and more examples will follow, because we just got a tip of the iceberg right now. I think JC, people like that will fall as well.
Oh yeah.
I think from the Green Mile,
Tom
Tom
Hanks.
will fall as well, because he also visited Epstein's Island many times. A lot of actors we hold dear will finally become the evil pedophiles. It will
A
happen.
lot of people. A lot of people.
And then there's a last thing about Satanism within gangs and mafia, and that's about MS-13. You know the president of, let me look it up real quick. I've written it down. Of El Salvador. He had an interview about MS-13, about the gang, you know, with the MS-13 and 666 tattoos and stuff like that.
Right, right.
Well, the president of El Salvador said that they even found ritual altars with sacrificed babies on it.
Jesus.
That cult was even sacrificing babies to feed the beast. So it goes,
Ugh.
and that's the president saying it. So it's not some conspiracy theory. It's a president of a country saying this.
Right.
So it's a reliable source. Then we come to chapter 5. It's about beating the system and the elite. Also really important, I think, on how I think we can beat the elite. It's going to be there. About large companies and the monopoly positions, and how we can beat them by not buying from them, but buying from small companies, you know, family-owned businesses. Because if you buy Nike shoes, if you buy McDonald's, if you buy whatever, you pay Vanguard, you pay BlackRock.
Absolutely.
But if you buy it from smaller companies, family-owned, the money stays within the lower layer of the pyramid, within the 99%. And the 1% gets nothing. So that's a really important thing. A sham democracy, because we can only vote on puppets, but never on the laws they make. Consume more wisely. That a lot of stuff we buy is just bullshit. Stop buying bullshit. Stop buying McDonald's. Stop buying Nike shoes. Stop buying whatever. The benefits of second-hand.
Stop feeding the beast.
Exactly. Second-hand goods also really important, because then you buy directly from another normal human being. You trade your money for a product they own, and then you keep the money system within the community, voting with your wallet and the power of boycotts, because if everybody boycotts McDonald's, it's gone forever.
Right.
And in my opinion, that's going to be a good thing. Cash.
And you won't be eating so much human meat, human meat and Big Macs.
Exactly. Well, then there's the thing about cash. If we use cash, we can block the digital currency that's coming, because digital currency means we don't have the normal currency anymore.
Right.
And it's all about control. And we really have to stop that, because after digital currency comes the social credit system, like in China.
Mm-hmm.
If you behave, you can use your money. If you don't behave, we take your money. Simple as that. So the politicians, they have total control over our wallets. So we gotta keep using cash. No matter what happens, keep using cash. Use it as much as possible is my advice. Then we have the open air prisons, the 15-minute cities. Then we have the payment services as subscriptions. You know how we used to buy a car, now we lease a car.
Right.
By leasing it, people think it's my car, but if you don't pay it for 1 month, they come steal the car from you because it's theirs.
Exactly.
So don't do subscriptions. Don't do Spotify. Don't do, well, for podcasts do Spotify, but not for music. Just buy the CD. If you like an artist, buy the CD. Don't do Netflix. Don't do whatever. Buy a DVD, right? Then you own it. A movie. Then there's about the news and the media, alternative media, and how both can lie, because the conspiracy theorists, some of them just put out theories just to make money. They don't care anything about the truth. They only care about likes and money and getting fame.
Yep.
We'll put a lot of conspiracy that isn't real, if you know what I mean. Then a really important thing is fact-checking and doing your own research, because in the book, in the first on the first page, I tell about how important it is to do fact-checking, to form your own reality, because
real fact checking.
Because even if I tell you something, it doesn't mean anything, right? Because you didn't fact-check it yourself.
Right.
So never trust anybody. Don't even trust me. I could have made up anything about the vampiric stuff, right? I could have made it up. Even though I got one of these that is, but I could have made it up, right?
Any content I have in my podcast, you fact check it yourself.
Exactly. So that's a really important thing, fact check. Then there is unprovable conspiracy theory and the dangers, like the shape of the Earth. If it's round, flat, banana-shaped, or dick-shaped, or whatever, I don't care. I am a non-theist. I don't do questions that I cannot prove. If I cannot fly up in the sky into the galaxy, I cannot prove whatever shape the Earth is. So I don't need.
I say that all the time. People ask me, "Do you believe in flat Earth?" I'm like, I don't disbelieve it, and I don't believe it because I've never been to outer space, so I can't see it.
Exactly. So that's about unprovable conspiracy theories.
You can give me all the evidence that you have. It's still not going to make me 100% believe the Earth is flat.
So when I come to the title, Beating the System and the Elite, by hanging and keep having discussions about flat Earth and aliens and stuff like that, you don't fight the system. Even better, you are not awake, you are wide asleep.
Yep.
Why? Because you are spending your energy, your time, your focus, everything into distraction. Going into flat Earth, going into aliens. It's fun to read it. It's okay to read it for one day and then just leave it be for the rest of your life. Because if you hang in it, you waste your time. It's like going to a sports match. It's fun to watch, maybe a football game or whatever. But going to a football game is 3 hours. You don't fight the system, and you don't do the step two. The bottom up approach, because you are distracted. It's all about distractions.
Sure.
So yeah, that's about theories. But of course, always invite them to your podcast, because they always have something interesting to say. And
Sure.
do read about it, about flat Earth, but don't stick in it. Keep it an open question afterwards, as long as you can't prove it. Then there is being self-sufficient, really important. Preparing for possible war, about storing food like grains and canned meat, stuff like that.
That even goes with weather warfare.
Yeah, just prepare for war. Make sure you got your own bunker in your garden with your food and your whatever. Just be prepared. I don't think there's going to be a physical war, because I think the war we are in right now is mostly about information, and it's an IT war. It's about the computer stuff. It's a computer war. It's about information. It's a war about keeping us distracted. Those are the bullets they are firing. They are firing a lot of conspiracy theory. They are, for example, the Epstein and Diddy case. I
Mhm.
read about it, and then it's over for me, right?
I don't even think of it, man.
Some people think of it and hang in it, keep talking about it.
Yeah.
But while people talk about the Diddy case, the government push a lot of laws.
Yeah.
But because people are busy about Diddy, they aren't busy about new taxes and new laws and new whatever.
That's right.
Another distraction. And then there is a thing about the divide and conquer and the power of connection. Because I truly believe connection is everything. Come together, right?
100%.
And then there is be prepared to learn and recognize the dirty games of the elite. Learn to recognize distraction. Learn to recognize whatever. So yeah, that's about how to beat the system. And chapter 2 is also about that. And the final chapter is create a step-by-step plan for yourself. Find a higher purpose in life. Write down your step-by-step plan. Make it a 10-year plan, for example, and put it into weekly steps or daily steps. Do a little bit every day, baby steps. A big chapter about falling back into old patterns, about when you went to trauma, you got coping mechanisms, right? You learned
Yeah.
how to cope, but sometimes such patterns block
You
you.
backslide.
Yeah, they block you from going forward. So there's that about how to break through the old patterns and get new coping mechanisms in your life. How to get a healthy mind and body, and mindfulness and spirituality. When it comes to old patterns, transforming negative thoughts and situations, also a really important thing. Dealing with stress at work, in relationships, in friendships. There's a lot of stress in your life. Dare to seek help. For example, I went to a psychologist not too long ago, because my father passed away and I had a burnout from work and whatever. Sometimes it's good to go to a professional, seek help,
Absolutely.
because showing your weaknesses to others is actually strength, because you have the balls to show that you are weak instead
You're
of
swallowing your pride.
exactly, because that way you throw away your ego and you just say, help me.
Look, I'm a human being too.
Exactly. Then there's assertiveness. Well, you know what that is. A chapter about honesty. And it's mostly about being honest to yourself. Because when you have a higher purpose, you also have to be honest with yourself about things you do, things you choose. And it's about honesty to others. Because when you finally find out who you are, you can present the real you to the outside world. I think that's really important, because then if you truly show who you are, nobody can use things they know about you against you, because
Right.
everybody knows it, right?
Yep.
You have no more weaknesses the elite can use against you, because the whole world knows. It's out there. So honesty really important. Social contacts and soulmates. And soulmates is not in the spiritual and new age kind of way, but more if you have a certain purpose or goals in your life, you meet certain people who have the same goals, like you and I met, right?
Right.
So that to me is a soulmate, someone who is on the same path. It's not like some twin souls or new age bullshit. It's more about we are on the same path and we are soulmates into that. We are brothers. We are. So it's more
Like-minded people who can come together.
exactly. Then there's a thing about sacrifices and letting go. Letting go certain bad behaviors, certain physical stuff you don't need, material stuff. Then there's finding balance, you know, the middle way of Buddhism. Filling the gaps. It's about the void inside you. You know, those empty spaces you feel.
Yep.
You can't fill it with alcohol. You can't fill it with sex or with friends.
Food, all that shit.
The only way to fill your emptiness is by having a higher purpose.
Right.
Because when you have purpose, you get filled automatically with energy and with purpose and with.
And it gives you the drive to do what you need to do.
Then there's another thing: a job full of energy. For example, I worked at a school and I had a office job, sitting behind the desk, constant telephone, stuff like that, a sitting job. Got a burnout there, and right now I am a gardener. I clean gardens and I make them look all nice again, you know. I work outside. I train my physical body by doing that work, and thanks to that, I get energy out of it, out of my work. Instead of coming home after a lot of telephone, sitting job, and coming home and being mentally tired. Now I'm
Right.
physically tired. That's way better.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, this is about finding a job, and I give you know, handouts like it doesn't matter what kind of job. Some people like that of a job. If it gives you energy, do it. It doesn't matter what kind of job it is, as long as you feel fulfilled and as long as it serves your higher purpose. Then any job is good, except McDonald's and working at Nike and stuff like that, of course. You know, don't fulfill a job where you help the elitists. Don't do
Right.
that. Then there's an important thing: keep learning and reading, because what I think now and know now can be totally different in 10 years from now. You know, every 10 years you are a total different person.
For sure.
If you follow a pathway, if you stand still, you are the same person your whole life. But I don't want to be. So keep learning. Then there's the thing about retreats, going into a monastery, going into a Hare Krishna temple, going into whatever. And retreats are always great. Step out of your normal life and just go a week into a retreat where you only do spiritual stuff, right? And energize and re-energize. So there's also a chapter about that. Then there's a chapter about the jungle. Because the jungle is also a retreat with shamans.
Shamanistic retreats.
yeah, about plant medicine, Cambo. For example, I had Cambo. I still got some scars on my arm. They burned some holes and they put poison from a frog on your arm, and you um, go into a certain state of physical state, start sweating, start throwing up, stuff like that, puking. But after that, you are fully detoxified. And that's the thing you can only get in the jungle. So that's also a really important chapter. And the last one, create a financial plan. And well, the book is done, but I gotta read through it and make some couple of tweaks to it.
Right.
And I also made some pictures, the social pyramid. I think this picture says enough, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The World Economic Forum, the think tanks, the central banks, IBM, Shell, Microsoft, Tesla, Pfizer, McDonald's, Monsanto Bayer, the world population control, religions, governments, police, military, schools, media, Walt Disney. And here you see the modern slave. And you see the way they are walking, right? All with their black mirror.
With their heads and their phones.
Exactly. So that's the picture I got for the first chapter. Then I got, let me see, the second chapter. It's the bottom up. And it's basically you are at the bottom, the roots, and eventually you become the tree, right? Eventually you pick the fruits from everything you build up. Your healthy water, your healthy living, your healthy whatever. So for that I got this image made. Then we have the other chapter. Let me see. Chapter 4, it's about the cults. And I think the most
Bohemian Grove.
I thought this says it all, right?
For sure, yeah.
Because it used to be a conspiracy until Alex Jones went there and videotaped.
Right.
And then it wasn't a conspiracy anymore. Then it was real. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, I really make take in interesting pictures for every chapter. Then I have beating the oh wait. Chapter 3, the digital world. Again, the slaves with their mobile phones.
Yep.
And the transhumanism, see it?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes an image says more than 1,000 words, right? So
Right.
this is reality that's coming for us. I let AI make this for me, all those pictures.
Oh, that's awesome.
Every picture, except the pyramid, I let an artist do it for me. Then there's the cults of power, which I showed you. Then there is chapter 5, beating the system. Going from the left side to the right side, self-sufficient, see, happy people. And to the left side, it's all about pollution and
Slavery.
slavery. So yeah, this picture also says enough, right?
For sure.
Also,
I love it.
AI made that also. I said, this is my chapter. Think of a picture that suits the chapter, and it gave me that. I love AI. I love it. And then there's the last one. It's your pathway. You see your middle road.
Beautiful.
So yeah, that's basically my book, and it's finished. I already gave you the rough translation, but I gonna hand translate some pieces. But first,
Right.
I printed the Dutch version, and they will send it to me the end of this week. Then I will go through it, read it word by word, make a few notes, a few edits. then put the edits in the book, then translate it again to English, and then hand translate it, and then you get the final version from me
Awesome.
for free. And one
For
last,
free.
yeah, the PDF. I will just send it to you. Just it's yours to just feel free to print it for yourself.
Awesome.
Because we are brothers, right? We share.
For sure.
And when it comes to health, it's a Muslim friend of mine. I had some really terrible health problems. I had to go to the hospital, whatever, to treat it. And they wanted to give me prednisone. I don't know if it's called the same
Oh,
in
it's
English.
the worst shit.
Yeah, it literally destroys your body, prednisone.
Dude, I went on it for like 2 or 3 days and I felt like I had suicidal thoughts.
Yeah. Anyways, they wanted to give me that, and then a Muslim friend of mine said, "I got a book for you." And the book will heal you. So he gave me this book, Never Be Sick Again, Health is a Choice, by Raymond Francis.
Okay.
A really, really interesting book. Do read it. I read the book, I followed every advice from this book, and at the hospital, because I had inflammation really bad.
Right.
In my bowel, in my blood, everywhere. So I let the hospital do tests. They test your feces, they test your blood, they test your spit, whatever. And the inflammation was halved in 1 month time. It was only 50% of what it was. And 1 month after that, it was totally gone.
Holy shit.
It was chronic inflammation, chronic.
Right, right.
So it wasn't just a disease, it was chronic inflammation. Something that can't be healed. Doctors say you can't heal it.
Doctors say you can't heal it, yeah.
But this dude, he also is a freaking scientist, you know? And people that read this book are also scientists, and they also say they are doctors and whatever. Here, some people with PhDs, MDs, you know, they are all medical people preaching that you should read this book.
That's amazing.
So yeah, that's one advice I would like to give to everyone. Just you can even if you just look into this and look Google it and PDF behind it, you can even download it in less legal way, so to say.
That's awesome.
For people who can't afford it, you can always read it, but do buy it because you help spread.
It's everything. It's everything. If you don't have your health, you got nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the last thing I truly wanted to share about, you know, your pathway, because I think if you don't have a healthy body, you don't have a healthy mind. And when it comes to the plans of the elite, they want to keep us weak, right? They poison us. They poison our brains with conspiracy theories, certain conspiracy theories, because some are real, some aren't. They poison our
The
minds,
ones you could tell because they seem to push the ones that they want us to look into, right?
like flat Earth, whole YouTube.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
YouTube is flat Earth bullshit. Well, bullshit. Well, it can be true, but you know what I mean.
But it keeps division going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they poison our brains with media, with whatever, and they try to divide us. So as long as you keep your body healthy, don't watch. Well, do watch the news, but watch it with an awakened mind.
For sure. Yeah.
Read the news behind the news, if you know
Yep.
what. And
Joost, I'm going to end off here. Is there anywhere my audience can contact you at all?
Well, I'm only on Telegram. Like I said about health, I totally quit every type of social media. But they can always contact you because
Yep,
you got a direct link with me.
I could be the mediator. Yep.
So if they got questions, people are always allowed to add me on Telegram. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. Whoever it is, even if it's some guest you had before and they have their own podcast or whatever and they want me in,
Sure, sure.
I'm always open for that. I'm
Awesome,
an
man.
open-minded, friendly person. I'm not the dark side person I used to be. But I do keep my
You
trophies.
chose the path of the Jedi.
Well, not a Jedi, but kind of like a Revan in the Old Republic. I'm a gray side Jedi,
The neutral.
the neutral one. Exactly, because I think going fully light also isn't the way, because you're all
Yeah, I've tried it.
doesn't work, right?
Doesn't work.
And sometimes we need our fear and our anger and our whatever.
Yeah, that's what makes us human, right?
Just don't lose yourself in it.
Absolutely. Yost, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
We'll
thank
definitely
you.
keep in touch. We're always in touch. So, yeah,
Yeah,
man. And once you get that book out, I'll let people know how they can get it. I could send it to them or whatever.
yeah. Well, Snake Turban wanted to publish it, make money out of it, but that kind of doesn't feel right with me,
Right,
because
right.
I
Well, you're
just
the creator of it, so you're the one who decides.
I want to share my brain with everyone. But what I do think is that maybe the physical version I gonna publish, but the PDF version should always be free. Maybe, middle way,
Yeah,
make money out of the physical, give the other one for free, the PDF.
sure.
I think that's probably the way. So when I give it to you, you may share it to close friends,
Yep.
and if it gets published eventually, and there are gonna be certain rules with sharing the PDF file, of course, then Um, yeah, I will let you know.
Yeah,
Whatever.
we'll see what
I
happens.
never published the book, so I don't know how it goes with sharing PDF files, stuff like that. But I
Yeah,
will
for
figure
sure.
out. It's a journey.
Awesome, man. We'll keep in touch and you have a great night, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks
Had a
for coming
great
on.
time.
Peace out.